Okay, so today we're going to be writing equations from word problems, and as I said in class, it's a supplement to your textbook. But right now what I want us to understand is that when we're writing linear equations from word problems, we're going to be writing linear equations in the form y equals mx plus b. We're remembering that m is our slope, b is our y-intercept. So that means that we might need to remember our slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. Rise over run. Now we've been working with those all week, and I know you guys feel really comfortable because you did very well on your quiz. But the more important fact is what we always talk about when we're doing word problems. We have to write a let statement. In order to write a let statement, you're going to have to determine which variable is going to represent x and which is going to represent y. Meaning, you have to decide what is the independent variable, x, right? Because x is our independent. And which one's the y, which is our dependent. Okay, so in class the other day I said you have to ask yourself the big question. The big question is, what depends on what? Every single time I want to hear that in your head. What depends on what? Why is that? Well, because y always depends on x. Y always depends on x. Okay? All right, so let's look at our first example. All right, what happened? Something happened here. Pull this up. Okay. So when a word problem involves a constant rate or speed, and gives a relationship at some point in time between a variable, we have to consider what is happening, okay? So Marty is spending money at the average rate of $3 per day. After 14 days, he has $68 left. The amount left, and I was clear here, depends on the number of days that have passed. Okay? All right, so that means that x is the number of days because the amount left is my y, because it depends on the number of days. So I've written my let statement, I've identified my variable. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to ask yourself, what is the given information in this problem? Meaning, do I have a y-intercept? Do I have a slope? Or do I have one or 2 points? In this case, they said that he was spending money at an average rate of $3 per day. That's my slope, okay? And it also said that after 14 days, he has $68 left. That's actually a point. Days is my x, how much is left is my y, so the 1 point I have is 1468. Okay, I don't have the y-intercept and I don't have a second point. So now I've got to figure out, how do I write an equation based on this? Okay, so how do we write our equations? All right, so here, let me move this up. Write an equation of the situation. So the first thing we do is rewrite it in y equals negative 3x plus b, because we need to find our b. We plug in our point, so 68 equals negative 3 times 14 plus b. We solve for b. So negative 3 times 14 is negative 42. Okay, 68 equals negative 42 plus b. We add 42 to both sides, and we get 110 equals b. All right, so now I have enough to write my linear equation. So my linear equation, or my linear function, is y equals negative 3x plus 110. Okay, so now that is the linear equation that represents this situation. It says now we have to apply it. Use your equation to find the amount of money, find the amount of money he began with, okay? It's looking for how much he began with. Well, in this case, that means when the days are equal to 0. And remember, from class the other day, we talked about that value, that y-intercept being our starting value. So how much did he start with? He started with 110, okay? Remember that y-intercept, that beginning value, that slope is that changing value, whether it's going up or it's going down. That's one way we might have to write a linear equation. All right, additionally, let's look at our next question. All right, sometimes instead of giving a rate, a word problem gives two relationships at different points in time between variables. All right, so this problem is giving you 2 points. Let's look at the question. Suppose a 5-minute overseas call costs $5.91 and a 10-minute call costs $10.86. The cost of the call and the length of the call are related, but we have to figure out how. Does the time depend on the cost, or does the cost depend on the time? Okay? All right, I hope you're saying that the cost depends on the time. The minutes on the call is going to tell you how much the call will be. So X would be my minutes, and Y would be our cost of call. There's that big question. What depends on what? Because Y depends on X. So cost depends on minutes here. And remember, I talked about time usually always being your X. All right, now we've got to figure out what we have. All right, I don't have a slope, but what I'm given here is 2 points. I'm given the first point of 5.91, and I'm given the second point of 10.86. So $10.86. So I have to write an equation. So it says, what is the cost of a Y of a call of X minutes duration? Okay, this is just asking you to write the equation, write the general equation. They want it in terms of Y and X. So if we have 2 points, our minimum that we need to write an equation of line is a point and a slope. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find our slope. So M equals 10.86 minus 5.91 all over 10 minus 5. All right, calculating the slope. That gives me 495 over 5, which gives me a slope of 99. Okay, so there's my slope. Now I have my slope. I have to use a point to find B, okay? All right, so I'm going to plug in one of the points. I'm actually probably going to plug in the 10. I don't know why, I just like 10s better than 5s. So 1086 equals 0.99 times 10 plus B. And my B works out to be 0.96. All right, so my general equation then would be Y equals 0.99x plus 96 cents. All right, so it says, how long can you talk on the phone if you have $12 to spend? Well, the amount to spend is the cost of the call, and it's asking for the minutes, so that means we need to find X when Y is 12. So we set our equation equal to 12. All right, oops, dropped my pen. All right, so I'm going to subtract 0.96, and I get 0.99x equals 1104. I divide by 9.99, and I end up getting, I think, about 11. Okay, so it's about 11 minutes, so approximately 11 minutes. So if I have $12 to spend, and it works out to be a little bit higher than 11, I'm going to have to say it's $11 because I can't go over that $12, okay? So I have about 11 minutes that I'm going to be speaking on the telephone. And again, let's think about it. It makes kind of sense because it's an overseas call, and overseas calls are a little bit more expensive. All right, last example. When a word problem involves a constant rate or a speed and a beginning amount, it can be written in slope-intercept form directly. To do this, you have to recognize which one is my M and which one is my B, which we keep talking about. M is the changing value, B is the fixed value that you started with. Okay. All right, so let's look at this example. An airplane is 30,000 feet above the ground and it begins descending at a rate of 2,000 feet per minute. Assume the plane continues at the same rate of descent. The plane's height and minutes above the ground are related to each other. Okay, so first we have to say, what depends on what? Does the height depend on the minutes, or do the minutes depend on the height? Okay, and I'm hoping you're saying that the height of the plane depends on the minutes in the air. So minutes is my X, and height is my Y. Again, thinking about the graph, Minutes is always going to be my time, so time is always going to be my x, and height is going up or down, which would be that y value, okay? All right, so here's one that's nice and easy. We have that changing value. We were given the slope. It's descending 2,000 feet per minute, okay? And it started at 30,000 feet. So that's my y-intercept. So no, I don't have that one in that second point. They don't apply in this situation. So how can I write an equation directly in slope-intercept form? I can do y equals negative 2,000x plus 30,000. Okay? All right, so it says now use your equation to find the altitude. So that means find the height of the plane after 5 minutes. Well, you already said that minutes was my x. So I'm going to plug in 5 for x. Oops, 30,000. Okay, so 5 times 2,000 is 10,000. 10,000 plus 30,000 is 20,000. So after 5 minutes, it will have descended to an elevation of 20,000 feet. Okay? All right, so hopefully that tomorrow we'll go over all this, but you sometimes are going to be given 2 points and you have to find the slope. Sometimes you're going to be given a slope and a y and one other point, and sometimes you're going to be given the slope and the y-intercept to write your equation. But the most important thing that you can do is figure out what your variables are to write your let statement. So ask yourself, what depends on what? Because y always depends on x. Okay? See you tomorrow.